good morning, everyone. Good morning, Marie. How are you this fine Sunday morning?
Good morning. I'm doing really well. It's
Good.
nice out there today.
It is
So far.
super nice out there today. So
Yeah.
hopefully, we got a lot of people tuning in. We just want an hour, or so of your time. And today is going to be quite the show. We think so, anyways. We're quite excited about it. I want to show you. You can see in the background. This is the star of the show today. Now I'm going to pull me and Marie out for just a second. Because we wanted to see, we wanted you to see his Halloween look. He probably never dressed up for Halloween a day in his life. And if you don't recognize the star of today's show, well, you will soon. Okay. So let's go right ahead and let's get into our first article. As always, everything Marie and I do is backed up by media and by things that has been reported. And we just like to remind you all just how helpful some people are to Cape Breton. So in the meantime, let me cue this up and we will share
It's a Mary Campbell article. And I think you wanted to mention Mary Campbell today, right?
Thank you. I did. All right. So for everybody out there that knows Mary Campbell, she's the writer of the Cape Breton Spectator. She is having some medical issues. So if we could please send good vibes and pray for Mary, because Cape Breton seriously needs Mary Campbell's. She is an absolute the way that
treasure.
She's a treasure to Cape Breton, worth more than gold, worth more than anything that you could ever value. She is an asset that we can't go without. So please send good vibes and pray for Mary Campbell to whatever is going on with her and her health condition right now. We need to make sure that she gets better. We need Mary. Yep. All right, Marie.
She's our main information source, as everybody knows, whoever has watched us. So this one was in January of 2023, this article called Seriously, CBU Stop. CBU President and Vice Chancellor David Dingwall has issued another open letter to the Cape Breton community, this one occupying 3 full expensive pages in last Saturday's Cape Breton Post, and it is another absolute dud of a PR exercise. It states, I want to assure you that I, as President, Vice Chancellor, take full responsibility for the increasing pressures on the housing system due to our student enrollment. Before laying the blame for the situation squarely on the students...
Did he just, apologies, Marie, I did.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Did the President and Vice Chancellor, David Dingwall, did he put in there his own words stating that he takes full responsibility for the increasing pressures on the housing system due to the student enrollment?
This is a direct quote.
All right. So
what his news release was, right? This is what he stated.
In the comments, I'm sharing all the articles we're going through so you can see exactly where this stuff is coming from. Go ahead, Marie. Sorry to interrupt.
No, not at all. Before laying the blame for the situation squarely on the students, on the issue of housing, we have always stressed to students the importance of securing accommodations before arriving in Canada and strongly suggest on-campus housing to new students. An entire page of this production labeled background information on housing is presented as 6 separate points, but is really the same point made 6 different ways. And that point is, it's the students' fault for believing that just because we've accepted them means we can accommodate them. I could go through it. I could go through it point by point. Like, how can you provide a list of reasons for CBU's unprecedented growth that doesn't include aggressive recruitment? And how does one conduct a housing search on another continent? And why, if you have 50 empty residence rooms in the housing crisis, are you not doing whatever it takes to fill them? But I feel that would be giving this document more attention than it deserves. I will say, though, that I cannot believe a group of educated adults read the finished product and thought, nailed it. Because this is ridiculous. His promise to do more. Cape Breton University will do more. Now, I don't know if you want me to go through this whole thing, Janet.
You want to pull out the points in there. So mainly, we basically want to just see exactly what this is directly coming from David Dingwall of how he's going to. The university will do more for Cape Breton. So I feel it's got a few good points in there that are strong to today's show, Marie.
Okay. Well, basically, from November 15th, 2022 to January 9th, 2023, he took a leave of absence from the Cape Breton University, right? This is what he's saying. I was dealing with a serious family health issue. My wife's passing on December 10th, 2022 has not been easy. I want to take this opportunity to thank our many partners, including governments, nonprofit organizations, the private sector, and all of our internal community members, faculty, staff, students, as well as the media. for demonstrating their kindness and respecting my privacy. I'm very grateful for the compassion you have shown me. As I return to my duties, I am particularly concerned about the housing situation in Cape Breton.
He
It
is.
affects, yeah, all of a sudden he is, it seems. It affects the university, our students, and our community. I want to assure you that I, as President and Vice Chancellor, take full responsibility for the increasing pressures on the housing system due to our student enrollment. So, for quite some time, we at CBU have been working to address the housing issue and other growth challenges. We've had some success, but obviously not enough. The bottom line is that CBU needs to do more. We will double down and work even harder with governments, developers, nonprofit organizations, students, and others to address the housing needs of our students and, of course, assist the broader community. I'd like to share with you what CBU has been doing and provide context to the issues we have to address in the weeks and months ahead.
Yeah.
CBU, yeah, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead. It's
Okay.
getting into the numbers now, and this is where it gets interesting, okay? We're leading to a point, so bear with us. There's going to be some dry stuff until we get to the goodies, okay?
Yeah, we wanted to make sure, this is his actual statements, right? So CBU has seen its enrollment go from 3,300 students in 2018 to nearly 7,000 students in 2023. It has been a great success.
So this number, this article was written in January. This is a key point here, okay? This article, January 18th, 2023. Now we're going to be sharing with you articles from September of 2023 that contradicts fully what this man has done to help Cape Breton. All right, we're going to get there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm not sure if we want to go through. The question now is why such growth? Do you really want to go through all of this?
No. So we're going to go to a different article now. So bear with us while we queue up number 2. Okay.
Everybody's, of course, welcome. You can see it on there. Read it at your own time and leisure. But I mean, we have a lot more to get through here. So
this one's coming from CBC. Okay. Another reputable news source here in Cape Breton and all over Canada. Again, shared with you. So go ahead, Marie.
All right. Well, let's see here which one that was, Miss Janet.
It starts off with figures show Cape Breton University's growth far exceeds other Atlantic institutions. And we'll get to why this one, our particular university, would be so much more visible to the students around the world. That's coming.
All right. So figures show Cape Breton University exceeds other Atlantic institutions. New enrollment figures show Cape Breton University's student population has shown an upsurge far exceeding increases to all other Atlantic universities. Most of the increases has come from international students, adding to an existing shortage of housing and increasing competition for part-time jobs. CBU now has more than 9,100 students, with about 77% of those coming from overseas.
Hold on. So back in January of 2023, January that just passed, okay, he said he was going to do more for Cape Breton. He was taking this housing situation seriously and was going to address that. So his plan to address that was to bring in, on top of the 7,100 already here, 2,000 more people, students, and that's going to help us how? And he's super educated. He's the head of a university, and he knows there's a crisis. He knows that there's huge impacts to everybody here, including the students. And his way to help was to increase with 2,000 more people. Chakra. Go ahead.
Get that chakra. That's an increase of about 2,000 over last year, but CBU officials say they have a plan to reduce the numbers to more manageable levels in the future. On Friday, President David Dingwall said the university has spent time and large sums of money on international recruiting, and it's become well known overseas as a popular institution. We are a welcoming community, he said. Students know that. If the students that are coming didn't like it, why are they coming back? They're coming back because it's a welcoming community. CBU listened to allegations. Some students have said they were told by overseas recruiters that housing and jobs would be readily available in the area, but that has turned out to be untrue. Now, there is a link to this, but I could give you another link on the bottom that begs to differ this, in which you can see clearly in a documentary that there is the ladies holding literature that came from CBU trying to recruit them, never saying anything about accommodation problems. It was basically saying we did have accommodation, we did have housing. So, Dingwall said CBU made a point of looking into the allegations. If there's any evidence of agents saying those falsehoods, I think it's incumbent on those persons to tell us who those agents are, and we will deal with those agents very, very, very quickly. But so far, no students have come forward with any evidence to suggest that, he said. Imagine them coming forward. Terrified to come forward is what it is. They can't come forward. CBU faced criticism for its burgeoning student population last year when enrollment reached more than 7,000. That boosted the economy but created some concerns in the community about housing and jobs. According to the Association of Atlantic Universities, CBU's enrollment is up nearly 54% over last year. The overall average increase at Nova Scotia's 10 universities was 6.6%, which Association Chair Rob Summer by May said was dominated by CBU. In terms of growth, the next closest university in the region, University of Moncton, was up 5.6%. The University of Prince Edward Island was up 5.1%. As a result of the growth, CBU has created a plan to bring its student population back down to about 7,000. Dingwall said that it will be achieved with a greater focus on recruiting students from within Canada.
In 2018 and before then, they had a severe crisis in their recruitment and the actual number of students they had at the school. He had been paid a whole lot less, and it's just miraculously that his efforts that he's put forward has brought in so many people, and it's been filled with nothing but lies and broken dreams. Okay,
for people, and that's exactly, that documentary is Borrowed Dreams. So if you guys want to look at it, I think I put it last week as well. But it's important for you all to be aware of these students are not being told the proper truth. And look, this is just, we're going to show, this is his natural way of doing business anyway. This is just him.
It is. It's the way he conducts himself in politics, in every job. He used to work at the Royal Mint, and he had 704. We're going to get into details about this guy through his 50-plus year career and let you know exactly the type of man he is and what has happened in Cape Breton. So go ahead, Marie. We've got so much to get through today.
All right. Now, next, were we going to look up the shepherd? Is that next?
Yeah.
So Shepherd is actually, that's called, it's True North, right? And it's actually, it's an opinion paper, but everything in it, actually, you'll take it as you do, okay?
It's Shepherd. All based on fact, because these people
exactly
or they're held accountable, okay? And that's why everything that we show you, and again, in the comments, you're going to see exactly what we're presenting. So this is us showing you where the sources are coming from for this information. It's not in our head like some people would like to think. It's oh, look at that pretty picture. All right, go ahead.
So,
this one, go ahead.
So Shepherd, greedy university president, lines his pockets while the surrounding town struggles. Too many Canadians seem to have forgotten that greed is a sin. Case in point, Cape Breton University President David Dingwall, who is so focused on his own self-serving careerist ambitions that he is ruining the lives of international students and Cape Bretoners alike.
So true.
Does the name Dingwall sound familiar? He's the former Liberal cabinet minister who proudly proclaimed, "I'm entitled to my entitlements."
Which came from the Royal Canadian Mint, and don't worry, we're going to get there. We're coming to it.
You'll get to see that. Cape Breton University, CBU, was facing declining enrollment, budget issues, and layoffs until Dingwall dialed up the percentage of international students to more than 70% of the student population. International students pay higher tuition rates because the university does not receive government subsidies for their enrollment. The university, I know they get it for everything else. The university then had to rent out the Cineplex in town because they don't have enough classroom space. And they bought 2 buses to shuttle students to school because Sydney, Nova Scotia, does not have the capacity to transport this influx of students who is studying at the movie theater.
Can you imagine? Hold on.
Yeah.
You're paying twice the amount of tuition, okay? Your fees are above, they're beyond what the regular local students are paying. And now your reward is to go to the movie theater, to sit in not even a desk, to sit in a movie theater seat and take your lessons off of the movie theater projection screen. Wow. And you came all this way for that. Your parents must be so pleased. Keep going, Marie.
Yeah. Who is studying at the movie theater? CTV's Molly Thomas asked an international student interviewee. The Indian community is studying in the movie theater. I haven't seen any Canadian students at all, he answered. One of Sydney's food banks, Loaves and Fishes, serves 250 meals a day, mostly to non-Canadian students. This is not specific to Nova Scotia. At the University of British Columbia, international students make up 30% of enrollment, but account for approximately 80% of campus food bank visits. At Ontario Conestoga College, a campus survey indicated that 96.5% of food bank visits are by foreign students. The Cape Breton region has a severe shortage of housing, but Dingwall is content letting international students cram themselves into dilapidated units. One student from India died in a house fire last year. 8 international students were living in one side of the duplex and 5 in the other.
Imagine how that community must have felt, coming down to here to dilapidated units, to sending their children away to go to school, and they are treated like sardines in a nasty little rusty can when they get here. I can't even imagine being a parent of one of these students. How dare you, Dingwall? How damn well dare you? Keep going, Marie.
All right. Well, I should mention, Dingwall was compensated with a base salary of $392,893 for the year ending March 31st, 2022.
You can be guaranteed.
He got himself a raise in 2021, right?
And if he's anything like old Cece, you can be guaranteed that he got himself a bigger raise, and this year's salary numbers are much higher. There's no doubt in my mind.
I can only imagine what we're going to be reading by this time next year, Janet. Okay. A CBU professor who spoke to CTV W5 anonymously said that 75% of the international students who would have failed if they were at a different Canadian university. The professor noted.
So we've got a professor that's talking to W5.
But anonymously. Terrified.
Terrified to lose their job, and they will, okay? It is disgusting, Trina of Dingwall. And to have all this documentation, we're going to get worse. This is getting worse before it gets better, okay? So for him to basically have his own faculty knowing what he's doing, and he doesn't care. And these students would have failed if they were at a different university, meaning they're passing them, and they don't even qualify to pass. They don't even cut the grade. Wow, concerning.
It must be out of just, can you imagine? They see the stress that they're under, how unkept they are at this point, because they've got one bathroom for 8 people on one side of a house, or even 5 people on one. This is ridiculous. Yep. But anyway, here we go. Where was I here?
If they were at a different Canadian university, they would fail.
The professor noted that the students have backgrounds as lawyers, engineers, and computer scientists, but they've never learned English. Mm-hmm. The framing of this issue was strange. If the students should be failing, then fail them, no. But because these international students are a major source of the university's income, the school won't fail them, which contributes to poorer educational standards and academic morale on campus for all students. Mm-hmm. But as long as Dingwall can bask in glory when CBU's annual report says that the university is a rapidly growing school, then no matter. This seems to be a theme with Liberal leadership. Ramp up Canada's intake of immigrants and/or temporary residents to extraordinary, unsustainable levels, causing both Canadians and newcomers to experience a strain in housing, healthcare, and social services. Mm-hmm. But because the economic growth looks better on paper, whether those numbers are the government's or the universities, who cares?
We care.
We care.
We don't live here. We care. We're dying. We're homeless. We're sick. I mean, this guy's living the shanty life. He's got everything and everyone listens to him. How can we sit here and keep allowing this 71-year-old man who should have retired 6 years ago and let somebody else have some of his piece of his fucking greedy pie? Pardon my French. This guy's got to go. Keep going, Marie.
Okay, we need to send this message far and wide. Canadians cannot find housing. Canadian families making average salaries are priced out of rentals that aren't even nice places to live. Canadians cannot afford the groceries that would be maximally nutritious to them. Canadians cannot get their kids' daycare spots, and sometimes they can't get a school spot in their catchment. If you're coming here from a different country, it's not going to magically be a better situation for you. Beware of the types like greedy Dingwall who only want you here to justify their own cushy $400,000 salaries while you live in a rundown basement with 6 other strangers.
Sounds fun, right?
It sounds disgusting, and I don't know how people deal. I mean, it makes me very ill to think that they absolutely thought they were coming here to that beautiful, picturesque beautiful lighthouse. They heard that there was going to be housing and there was going to be healthcare jobs. In
Yep.
one of the documentaries I saw, they were talking, I believe it was the one I'll put on the bottom after the show.
Yep.
This lady was told that she was going to have a healthcare job. There was no healthcare jobs. She was so mortified that it was literally, you know what they're doing, the
Yeah.
ECEs and everything. Like, all
Mhm.
right. So anyway,
Our next
next.
article is the dubious projects funded. So this one here, again, we're getting into the background. Don't you love our background picture? All right. So this one's dubious projects funded in liberal ridings, says former ACOA boss. And if you've ever followed our Serious Sunday shows from the beginning, back when we first started, there's a lot of things that have gone on this island for 50 years. And you've got to believe that this fella's been part of every goddamn one of them, and he's controlled the reins. Oh, yeah. All right. So read this one here, Marie, of the CBC article. And I will show
Okay.
you.
Dubious projects funded in liberal ridings, says former ACOA boss, CBC News. Social sharing. This one was from October 22nd, 2004, guys. Okay. Long time ago, but it's something that I think we all better be aware of because ACOA is still alive and well, and so is David. Social sharing. CBC News posted this. The former head of the Federal Economic Development Agency for the Atlantic Provinces says the Liberal politicians often pressured him to fund dubious projects with public money during the 1990s. Norman Spector, who served as president of the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency during the mid-1990s, points to former ACOA minister David Dingwall as one of the biggest offenders.
Offenders. So this is a federally funded agency who is calling him an offender. That's always a nice word, right? Okay. Not if you're in court, but he needs to go to court. He's criminally ruined.
He did at one point, and that's interesting too. So Spector's allegations came in and afterward to a new book about Brian Mulroney, who had earlier appointed him as Canada's ambassador to Israel and Palestinian Authority. In author William Kaplan's A Secret Trial, Brian Mulroney, Stevie Cameron, and Public Trust Spector says he was offered the job at ACOA in part to keep an eye on David Dingwall, whose proclivity for pork barreling, though much appreciated by Cape Bretoners, had attracted negative press.
Imagine, back in the 90s, this guy has been being watched and has watchdogs from the federal government because they seen in the 90s he's a shafter. Let's keep going.
They can see it plain as day, right? Set up in 1987, the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency provides funding to businesses and training ventures across the Atlantic provinces. It has been plagued for years by allegations that its decisions on government loans are influenced by politicians.
Wasn't he a politician, Marie? He was a liberal politician.
He most certainly was, Janet.
We'll get to that.
Dingwall insatiable, says Spector. Spector describes what happened to a $60 million chunk of the ACOA's budget snared by Dingwall, then the health minister, after the Devco mine closed in his riding of Cape Breton, East Richmond. Because most of the applications flooding into his political staff contain no analysis and no rationale, he did not want normal program criteria to apply, Spector writes.
So right off the bat, this newspaper's writing about their federal employee who is now being watched because he's not taking the proper steps to make sure that all these programs and $60 million is being spent wrongly. So they're very concerned that he's just sending this money out to his friends with study buddies, grants, non-repayable loans, and he just thought he could do this. Keep going.
Well, nobody ever seems to catch him up on it, right? Dingwall was insatiable, and the projects were of increasingly dubious merit. Eventually, I suggested that he sign off on the projects. Not surprisingly, he was anxious that the public servants take responsibility for economic development projects that included refurbishing the Sydney waterfront, a chair in tourism, a new student residence at the local college, and a variety of forestry projects that ACOA did not fund in any other province. Dingwall's defeat in the 1997 election ended his 17-year career as a member of parliament. He is now head of the Royal Canadian Mint. Earlier this year, his name started coming up in connection with the federal sponsorship scandal.
Wow.
Chuck Weaver.
So back in 2004, he's now went from being dubious and being a shyster. So now they're basically saying that he is part of a federal sponsorship scandal, which sounds like what's going on at the CBU right now still. So we've been allowing him to swindle, and ruin Cape Breton for how many years? Decades. What is wrong with us? He needs to go. Keep going, Marie.
All right. Dingwall's defeat in the 1997 election ended his 17-year as a member of parliament. He is now head of the Royal Canadian Mint. Earlier this year, his name started coming up in connection with the federal sponsorship scandal. Sorry, guys. Chuck Guida, the former bureaucrat who ran the program, told a parliamentary committee that Dingwall once congratulated him for keeping a discreet silence on how he used to operate under the Mulroney Tories.
A discreet silence. Isn't that nice code for...
Listen to this. You won't rat on them. You won't rat on us, said Dingwall, then the public works minister, according to Guida testimony. Mm-hmm. Can you believe that? Like, that's very shocking to me, but, you know, who am I? Just a gal reading the paper.
Yeah. So keep going. ACOA, a popular source of funds. So he's always had his hand in big piggy banks, real big piggy banks. And guess whose the piggy banks were? They were our tax dollars. Okay. So he's been spending our money wrongly for decades. And I'm talking scandalous on how he's been spending our money. And it's no wonder, we're getting our equalization money. I can promise you that. It's gone in way of David Dingwall censorship money. And that's why Cape Breton has done so badly.
We have a real concern here that these equalization payments have been divvied out in things that are called something else, possibly, that are going through people like David Dingwall. I look at the Tartan Downs project, for instance, $5 million. They call that seed money. What does that even mean? That was given for a rapid housing initiative. That was 2 years ago. No ground has been broken yet. Where did that money go? And that's just one of the things that I've been looking at over the last week and going, I don't understand what's going on. I try to write them. They don't email you back. No. There's no accountability here ever. And so now we're going to look at a license to print money. Are we, Janet? Is this what we're looking at? Or?
So we didn't get into the ACOA, a popular source of funds. So Dingwall wasn't. So right underneath that last bit there, I'll try and highlight it here. I don't know if you'll see it. You want me to continue on?
Yeah, you go ahead, Janet. You go ahead with that one, and I'm just going to...
So Dingwall wasn't the only Atlantic Liberal. Get your... you asked for it, the one that you said next. So Dingwall wasn't the only Atlantic Liberal who tried to channel ACOA money into Liberal ridings during his presidency, Spectator writes. I was having difficulty stopping the agency's embarrassing prolificity to lend cash to companies that didn't need it. Imagine lending cash to companies that don't need it. Wow, that seems to be a regular norm around here. Okay,
sure does.
Didn't need it, deserve it, or have the ability to use it profitably. Now, I've got one company in mind that is taxed right to the university that sings the song to me. But anyhow, one MP summoned me to her office and explained that not she nor I could decide to who received government money because she had to get reelected every 4 years. Pressure to fund certain projects for political reasons also came from staffers in the office of Prime Minister Jean Chrétien. Spectator said, including Assistant Dominic LeBlanc, now the MP for New Brunswick, and other ridings. So David Dingwall's former assistant, Warren Kinsella, said it's the job of all MPs to work on behalf of other ridings. And this includes the minister responsible for ACOA, and the Spectre should have known that. So they knew this guy was up to stuff. He's an incredibly bright person and a person of great integrity. But if he thought it was so bad and it was so odious and terrible, why did he stay on the job so long? So there's people that knew what he was up to that were scared to lose their jobs if they squealed on almighty Dingwall, okay? So faced with the choice of giving in to political pressure or resigning, I asked then clerk of the Privy Council, Jocelyn Bourgon, that I would be leaving the public service. So some people that were honest were so disgusted by his actions in politics, they left politics because they couldn't handle the pressure of the Dirty Boys Club. All right, let's go to the next article.
Right, which is? Let me look at here.
The next article is... you asked for it, a license to print money. This is from the tax.
That's right. That's the one I was hoping for here.
Yeah, let's share this link.
Yeah. Now, this is an older one as well, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Waiting for my little Kindle to come up here. So,
Okay.
your CTF has been inundated with emails expressing outrage, bewilderment, and frustration at the latest Liberal scandal involving the former head of Canadian Mint, David Dingwall. The question is simple. How much did this guy end up costing us? On September 28, 2005, the head of the Royal Canadian Mint, David Dingwall, resigned amid allegations of ethical lapses and questionable spending. Some 740,000 in 2004 expenses, making him the fifth. Yeah.
$740,000 in 1 year in expenses. This doesn't include his paycheck. It didn't include the money that they paid him. This was him dipping into the Royal Canadian Mint. And for those that don't know, the Royal Canadian Mint prints our money, the Canadian currency that goes to the bank, that goes into our paychecks. This guy was in charge of that. Hello, Pearl. Good morning. All right, Marisa, let's get back to the article.
Making him the fifth scandal-plagued Crown Corporation head to exit under Paul Martin's watch. He had also been criticized for failing to register as a lobbyist for Bionish, is that what it is, Janet? Bionish Life Sciences, Inc., a Toronto-based pharmaceutical company. Reports indicate Dingwall was paid $350,000 for helping secure grants from Technology Partnerships Canada, an Industry Canada program.
So this guy gave people grants and they paid him $350,000 on top of the $740,000 that he got from expenses at the Royal Mint, on top of the salary that the Royal Mint was paying him. So this guy was taking money from everywhere like a tree pulling leaves off of the branches. Just take. Okay, keep going.
That's true. Yep. For the company, even though TPC rules forbid paying success fees, they're not supposed to be paying success fees. But look, he's like, guess what? I'm Dingwall. Mr. Dingwall, Paul Martin, Revenue Minister John McCallum, and Treasury Board President Reg Alcock all defended these lavish expenses at the Mint, saying no rules were broken. Mr. Dingwall himself said all of the expenses were related to my responsibilities, and each of them were disclosed to the board and will stand up to scrutiny as completely appropriate to my role as president of the Mint. So what were these expenses? Let's get a look at that. $92,682 for foreign travel, including a one-day bill for over $13,000.
Was he gone? Do you think he was the king of England?
I don't know what kind is this. So private jetting it? Is this what's been going on? As obviously something to that effect, and more. A cocktail service all the way and all. So $4,355 for travel in Canada. $3,314 for dining while abroad. Wow. $11,173 for domestic dining, including $5,953 for a single meal at Ottawa's Brook Street Hotel, a swanky restaurant in the nation's capital.
What person in their right mind would ever be looking at an expense sheet and approve one meal at $5,953, almost $6,000 for a meal? What did he eat? A gold bar?
$5,297 for golf club membership fees, $2,500 for domestic limousine service on top of having a government car at his disposal, $12,000 for car allowance, $5,998 for vehicle operating costs, $1.09 for a newspaper, $1.79 for a bottle of water, and $1.29 for a pack of chewing gum.
So wait, what expenses does golf clubs fit under in the category of government? I'm confused on that one. But I mean, after you've expensed out almost $6,000 for a meal, you had the absolute nerve to charge $1.09 for a bottle of water and $1.29 for a pack of gum?
$1.79 in the year of, what year was this? 2004 they were looking at? That's a pretty expensive bottle of water back in dollars. I guess it was Perrier or whatever it was back in the day, but
Okay, yeah, keep going. This guy gets better.
How did Dingwall get by? Taxpayers were understandably outraged to hear that Mr. Dingwall, who collected $277,000 per year as head of the Royal Canadian Mint, had the audacity to claim $1.09 for a newspaper, $1.79 for a bottle of water, and $1.29 for a package of gum. Barely 3 cents of Canadians make over $100,000 per year, let alone over $250,000. Surely Mr. Dingwall can afford to pay out of pocket for his dentine.
Right. Just
How
how
would
and unscrupulous he is, okay? Because he isn't paying for anything. He hasn't paid for anything since he got into politics back 50 years ago. He paid for nothing then, and he's sure not paying for nothing now. We're getting there. It's going to get better.
How will Dingwall survive now? To add salt to taxpayer wounds, Mr. Dingwall is in line for $500,000 in severance. Most of us in the real world get nothing if we quit our job. Then there's that little issue of his MP pension. Your CTF estimates that in just 2 years, at the ripe age of 55, Mr. Dingwall will be collecting an annual pension of $77,219.
Yeah.
That puts him in the top 10% of income earners, as the country has a retiree no less.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming Mr. Dingwall, well,
a retiree, but yet
yeah,
he won't leave his cash cowing job that's getting him almost $500,000 a year to have other people do his work for him. He's basically sitting back in the probably most beautiful spot in Cape Breton Island, laughing as he's up on his big hill at how he's
or somewhere in the world, God knows where.
destroyed everybody who he's not a friend with.
Assuming Mr. Dingwall lives to 75, his annual pension, modestly indexed at 1.5%, will be $121,951. Total estimated pension benefits at age 75, $1,905,890. How old is Mr. Dingwall right now?
He's 71 right now. He'll be
Oh, if he can hang on that long, I tell you, he's in unrepentant pigs at the trough. What rankles taxpayers almost as much as the wasteful spending by politically connected elites is the arrogant, unapologetic reactions of these guys when they get caught.
Yeah.
Andre Ouellette, the former head of Canada Post, racked up $2 million in expenses without producing so much as a parking receipt when he was questioned. Ouellette bragged about how he turned Canada Post around and how he followed all the rules. Read buzz off taxpayer and pay my bills. David Dingwall has stuck to the same script. When questioned about his expenses on October 19th, 2005, Mr. Dingwall said he had stuck to the rules and nothing was out of order. He added that it wasn't, of course.
Stuck to the rules, $6,000 for one meal. Imagine paying for golf club memberships. What insane.
I guess he's trying to tell us, Janet, that this is the norm, that this is just a plain norm. Thank you, David Dingwall, for bringing that to our attention. Mm-hmm. Mr. Dingwall had said, so he added that it wasn't actually taxpayers' money he spent. Said Dingwall, all expenses came from the operating revenue of the corporation, Royal Canadian Mint, not from any taxpayer dollars.
Oh, and yet the
Say what?
is oh my God.
Aren't Crown corporations owned by the federal government and by extension taxpayers? Every dime of either profit or operating expenses is taxpayers' money. This type of arrogance is all too common when serving of severance.
Asked, thought he was deserving of severance.
Yes. Yeah. Mr. Dingwall replied, I think I am ethically entitled to the entitlements owing to me. With an independent audit clearing the former Crown head of any wrongdoings and his lawyers ready to pounce, be assured, taxpayers, that Mr. Dingwall will get everything and more he is ethically entitled to, right down to the gum wrapper. Mm-hmm. So this was his. This is the whole printout here. Salary as head of the Royal Canadian Mint is $277,000. His severance for resigning was $500,000. His annual MP pension, estimated at $77,219 indexed. Total MP pension benefits to the age of 75, like we said, $1,905,890 is the estimate. So,
so this article here, Marie. I don't know if I gave it to you. This one is the Canadian Encyclopedia. So
no, go ahead.
I'll share this one and give your voice a break, and you feel free to interrupt me at any time.
I got to tell you guys, it's honestly, I need new glasses. It's the truth of it. And if I try to enlarge it too much, then I lose the whole screen. So that's what happened there. Every time I try to enlarge it, the whole screen's got woo-woo.
So you've all heard of Maclean's Magazine, and this is the Canadian Encyclopedia, and their source is coming from Maclean's Magazine, okay? The article was originally published in Maclean's Magazine, April 3rd, 1995. The link for this article is in the comments. Okay, so forget for one moment his reputation as a throwback to the old style, intensely partisan Ottawa wheeler dealers. At a little past 8 a.m. on this steely gray morning, David Dingwall is trying to lighten up. Does not come easily. All right, so Dingwall's profile. Forget for a moment. Is It does not come easily. One leg hooked over the side of a chair in a Halifax hotel room, the Federal Minister of Public Works and Government Services launched dead-on imitation of disgruntled constituent from his riding of Cape Breton East in Richmond, then mimics the softly modulated tones of Alexander Graham, the canny senator from Sydney who helped introduce himself to politics. Then comes Dingwall's showstopper, the incantory, drawn-out delivery of Alan J. McCachran, the longtime federal Liberal minister from Cape Breton who now sits in the Senate. And this is back in 1995, so these people are probably well gone, like, from government like Dingwall. So close your eyes, says one acquaintance of both men, and you'll swear Alan J. is right there in the room. So what I'm gathering from this article is this Alan J. must have been quite the sinister, sinister, swining, no good bugger of the old men's club that we're going to talk about. In a way, maybe today he is. Dingwall plays coy when compared to political legend, the man who, despite 41 years in Ottawa and a succession of senior cabinet posts under Pierre Trudeau, always looked after his beloved downtrodden island of eastern tip of Nova Scotia. Oh, he's looked down on us, all right. He's looked so down on us. He wanted to rip us apart and make sure that every Cape Bretoner never forgets the man who ruined lives for so many of us. Unless you're his friend, then he's bettered it, okay, with your free money and all sorts of startup seed stuff. So let's keep going. Let's see. So Dingwall explains with a knowing chuckle. Privately through, he said to enjoy, even to invite the comparison. Dingwall, after all, controls $9 billion a year in government procurement and contracts. $9 billion.
Wow.
Money he was in control of at one point in government. Billion, not million.
Yeah.
All right.
Billion.
So, and contracts. He rides herd as federal government boss in the Atlantic provinces, where he, Fisheries Minister Brian Tobin of Newfoundland and Transport Minister Douglas Young of New Brunswick, give the region a level of cabinet clout unrivaled since Trudeau days. He also holds the purse strings for the $375 million annual budget of the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, ACOA. Now, if you remember, before ACOA, it used to be ECBC. ECBC was the Enterprise Cape Breton Business Corporation. That he literally defuncted that, and they were shut down because they were shady and they were known to be swindling money out of there. So he was in full control of that too. He was in full control of the $9 billion in government spending. He was in full control of the Royal Canadian Mint. Everything this guy was in control of, he literally laughed at, spent the money the way he decided, and did whatever he wanted to do, because that's how David Dingwall operates.
And it seems he's always under scrutiny, but for whatever reason, he's like Teflon. It's just, why?
Marie, the main thing that we'll take away from today's show is if you have enough money, you can get away with anything. Anything. And I wonder...
On this island especially, it's very small.
He's been in control of the Atlantic provinces. He was in control of the East Riding of Richmond Cape Breton as an MP. That's a huge riding, all right? Yeah. That controls a lot of things here in Cape Breton. He could have made Cape Breton great. He could have made Cape Breton, bigger than Halifax if he really, truly cared about Cape Breton. But all he really, truly cares about is money and taking it from us and making sure we have nothing in Cape Breton. And that's the only thing that he ever cared about, was making sure he had everything while the rest of us, except his buddies, had nothing. Okay, yeah. Let's just see. At a glance, there's nothing down home about the bald, sturdily built lawyer with the quick politician smile and a fondness for expensive suits and tasseled loafers. In Ottawa, where he was nicknamed Little Napoleon. Now, I remember Napoleon. Napoleon was known historically as being a traitor, okay? So he's known in Ottawa as being a traitor. You're damn straight he is. He definitely did nothing for the people of Cape Breton except rob us. He is a reverse Robin Hood. That's what he is.
And he's flipping from one liberal, he goes to a conservative, the liberal, I think depending on who possibly the MP is at that time, right? The premier is at that time. Whatever is the ruling party of Nova Scotia at that time, he wants in their pocket, and he gets in their pocket, he gets out the funds, he can distribute them to where he wants, and then nobody ever asks about them. Where is this $5 million for Tartan Downs that we could use for tiny houses for all of our homeless today, not 2 years from now? They were supposed to have broken ground already. There was nothing done. Not only broken ground, they're supposed to be in full construction right now. This is bull crap. Carry on. I'm sorry.
Yep. Good stuff, Marie.
Makes me mad.
It should. So, while Let me see. While Liberal House leader from 1991 to 93, Dingwall is known to have the stamina of a triathlete, the killer instinct of a pit bull, the political acumen of, well, Alan McCacken.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if his critics say he sorely lacks the older man's subtlety. The kind of old politics he practices, notes a senior Ottawa bureaucrat, is so out of step of what other ministers are trying to do. He obviously distasted a whole room full of other cabinet ministers. They literally, in Ottawa, nicknamed him Little Napoleon because he was known through the entire cabinet of all the parliamentary people that are in politics as an absolute traitor and shyster to his people. You know, over the years of living here, Deborah says, I have learned that if you don't pay, you can't play. And that is
Yeah,
a goddamn
that's
or you need the right friends in the right places, Deb. That's a true story here in Cape
true,
Breton.
true.
My land, they'll never let me do a goddamn thing at my land because I don't like the right people, because I call bullshit when I see it. Okay, so let's just carry on. So go to Cape Breton. Out of step what other ministers are trying to do. Go to Cape Breton though, and Dingwall's name is Gold. Gold? Who are you
What's
asking?
the reason?
Who are you asking? So you're not asking, right? Good morning, Michelle. Not
I
asking the
don't
right.
think you're asking the right people.
Well,
Asking his friends, clearly, and the friends are always the same ones, and
but
can
let's go
see that
back.
pretty clear.
This article's back in 2003. So this is old, but this is still relevant to today because he's
Well,
only
yeah,
based on his greedy, tyrannical, he thinks he's so untouchable. He may as well be King Midas in his mind because there's nothing he can't do, and there's nothing any of us can do to stop him. All right. Um, so back to where he is. Students at the University College of Cape Breton, where he studied business. He studied business, and he's teaching his ways to, those who want to learn it. Goodness,
yeah.
look up world. So, where he studied, recently christened a new stone wall built on campus with part of a $2 million federal grant, the Dingwall. You imagine he spent $2 million of a federal. Look, politicians from Cape Breton never stand up for us. Never have. You got that right, Nova Scotia
No, they
Equalization.
never have and
They
won't.
never have. And all they're going to do is just keep sticking a straw in us and sucking us dry. Because
Mm-hmm.
as long as they have a big fat bank account, they could care how many of us they have to step over while we're homeless to get to their next paycheck. That's our problem.
We need
Not
to start looking at citizens' assemblies. And I know there's a national citizens' assembly I actually got an email for today. So people be on the lookout for that, because that's very important to be able to go to who our MPs are and explain to them about strength in numbers. We need them on deck to say, we are all in this together, no matter if you're liberal or conservative or whatever, together, you got to do this stuff. Things need to be done with housing immediately and many things like healthcare. So, sorry, Janet, go ahead.
So the king himself won't say that his near legendary drive and ambition is all for the right reasons. One of my biggest roles as an MP and minister is to try to create the environment for the private sector to create jobs in the Atlantic region, he explained in an interview. If you have a job, a lot of things fall into place. You have dignity, you can provide for your kids, you can improve your own quality of life, except if you're not part of his clique. Because if you're not part of his clique,
jobs. What jobs is he talking about?
he's talking about the jobs that he's given to his friends with the study buddies, like the Verschuin Technology Center. I hate that place. And I'd like to see any of the projects in that place. Where's your vertical garden? Where's all these things that all these monies went through? I haven't seen proof. Me and Marie have emailed and called.
I still have to go. I still have to call I guess the lead of the project there to find out if I can go in and take a look at it, because I really want to see this vertical garden that was given from New Dawn to the Verschuin Center that's used to feed the people in the Marie Cafe downtown Sydney. Right? Is this what I remember reading it? And I'm pretty good with remembering what I've read. So nonetheless,
exactly. And everything we talk about has been it's a resource from not us. This is us getting angry and upset that all this information has been at our hands. We have all been able to see it for over 20 years. Let's go back even to the DevCo days, because he was part of that nightmare. Then ECBC, then ACOA. Every time we turn around, he has done nothing but steal and rob from us. This reverse Peter Pan, we got to get rid of him. He's got to go. Reverse Robin Hood. He's the worst thing that ever happened to Cape Breton. The absolute worst. All right. So let's see. On that promise, he is clearly delivered. Even if some of his own Atlantic Caucus members sometimes feel that Cape Breton, with its 25% unemployment rate, is too often its beneficiary of his efforts. Of what? Recruiting people to the university? Within a month of being sworn in as minister, Dingwall stepped off the plane and is riding with an $83 million federal package for Micronov Limited, including $64 million for Cape Breton. Millions more in grants followed. Although out of the 2,320 projects funded by ACOA, the Atlantic Coastal Opportunities Agency, in 16 months since Dingwall took over on the controversial body, 200 went to Cape Breton. 2,320 projects were funded. He was in control of 2,320. 200 went to Cape Breton. His people got barely 10% of the rest of that. And we make up quite a big region of the Atlantic provinces. And we only got 200. And I can assure you, out of the 200 that did come here, they didn't help very little. They helped very few of the actual people here in Cape Breton. They helped his buddies.
Absolutely not. We know from everything we've read that nothing ever seems to be helpful. It seems only to be helping certain ones, and it seems to be able to funnel in more money. The ones that he seems to be helping out, it just is a big circle of let's get these grant monies in, put them where we really want them, and then who is tracking the grant money? Who is tracking the dollar for dollar of where it's going? I mean, they can put up a little soiree at the pavilion or whatever to show me where. I want to see dollar for dollar where that 5 million goes, right? When you're given this from a government grant, and there are so many rapid housing initiative projects that could be really good for us, we could actually have tiny houses. We could do these things to house people before it's winter. Never mind breaking ground in a year or bull crap like this. We know what's needed because there's all these homeless people out there right now, and it's going to get cold very quickly. And what are we going to do? Are we all just going to cry then? Because right now, I think we better all be writing to our politicians and to be speaking of this stuff that we know, we're aware there's grant money being given out. Where is it? It's their job
to
tell us.
Investigate this shady shyster scammer who has done nothing but steal. Thank you for that and the advocacy, media awareness of the plight of the homeless and opportunity, Diana says, and dialogue. Even, let's see, and even devil's advocacy in the People Assembly is something we need to be aware of and join. To speak in a collaborative voice, strength in numbers makes change.
Diana. You're right, absolutely, Diana.
Mm-hmm. So here's again the end of this article. In the future, our island here in Cape Breton, will be lucky if to do well. Okay, so even in the cabinet, in all of Canada's Parliament, they also seen he was doing nothing for his people. Everyone's seen it. We see it now. And why hasn't anything been done and still nothing being done? He is 71 years old and has literally just sucked the good out of every dollar he could have out of this island. And we have suffered for it. Oh, no worries. Thank you, Diana. So again, this man in ACOA would limit himself to providing repayable loans to small and mid-sized businesses. I would like to know any of these businesses that ever got any money from him that weren't connected to him through some sort of DevCo, ECBC, or COA. Somebody who had no at arm's length to him. Who are you? How did he help you? Because I'm shocked.
It would be good to hear. I mean, let's hear the other side of it too, right? Like, it's not like blah, blah, blah. We just can't see the other side of it because there is no other side. All we see is him sucking all the money out, right? That's it. That's all anyone can see, unless you're out there, some of you, and just show us, like,
right?
We'll show your side of it. Like, it's just, what the heck are we all doing here on this island if we're not going to speak up and speak out about it? We're very small and we're really being taken advantage of.
Thank you so much, Diana. So yet his cabinet clout is such that despite strong pressure to do away with the agency, ACOA emerged from February's federal budget, again back in 2005, with its budget trimmed from $252 million to $179 million, just a fraction of the cuts that were suffered by comparable regions of development in the West and in Quebec. So that's the end of this article. And then we're going to go into, we've got something special to show you. Get rid of this. So we're going to go in again and just show you quickly his Wikipedia profile. Okay.
Yeah. Just remember this and give a look yourselves. You got nothing to do out there today. Go enjoy some sun. Go look on Wikipedia a minute. It's going to make you go, what the heck?
Again, every
How much has
single
this guy got his finger in?
we've cited every source. We have compiled all the data so that you could go in here, click on these links yourself, see all the different, there's CBC, there's CTV, there's so many things that we had to just pick through, and literally we could have kept on going for a whole entire day here talking
Got a
about it.
cornucopia of stuff to go through. We had so much choice, and it's just like, okay, what was interesting to us may not be to you, but now that we've hopefully piqued your curiosity, you will look into it a little and maybe write one of your officials today on a beautiful Sunday.
So we won't read it to you, but we can tell you that he has been in politics and been part of things since 1974. All right. So since 1974, he has been making himself richer while making this island poorer. Now, I was born in 1973 and I'll be 50 very soon. Okay. And I can tell you, Cape Breton has done nothing prosperous, because this man has taken every opportunity to rob us blind. And that should be a crime. All right. So we're going to end this with something special. Hold on. Oh, apologies.
I didn't know he was also into film. Janet and I were shocked when we saw this. We were like, holy cow, look at him.
Yeah.
He's everywhere. He's freaking everywhere.
Freaking everywhere. So hold on while we share this one and enjoy it. Yeah.
He's all but destroyed us, just like what you see behind him. And what we need to see is him looking more like that. We don't want him to look so polished anymore in his beautiful suits. Let's get him to look at what he's been doing to people, and have some compassion out there. David Dingwall, have some compassion for these people that you've brought onto this island. House them. Find a way to do it other than just collecting the grant money and using it as seed money. What is seed money? Somebody, please.
We need you to share this post, guys, because we can't stop this greedy monster who has consumed as much of Cape Breton's dollars as he possibly could, and he won't stop. He won't stop. He knew back in January of this year that we were in a crisis. There's no houses, there's no jobs, and yet in September, there was 2,000 more students brought in here. 2,000 more. This guy's got to stop. Now, another person I want to bring up, it was just in through conversation. I asked Joe Ward, another media, independent media here with Cape Breton Local and Cape Breton. I asked him, can we look into the financials of the university? And Joe found them. Joe found the Cape Breton University financials, and he went through them through the years. Thank you so much, Donna. We have to get this shared. People have to see the timeline of chronological bullshit this island has been through because of this horrendous man dangling us like puppets that are worthless to him. He hates us Cape Bretoners. He has a very small handful of friends, and if you're not in it, then you are never going to get anything out of this island except for grief and hardship. And he's promised us that for a long time, and he's damn well delivered on that one. Even up in the cabinet, in Canada's parliaments, even they know that he's done nothing for his people, nothing but shit all over us. It's time for us to finally, as numbers, we need to share this and fight back, because if not, he will never leave that position. Death will be the only thing to remove him from that pile of money he keeps getting raked in. So back to Joe Ward. Joe Ward shared with me the state of finances at the CBU just from 2022 till 2023, and they haven't finished with this year's yet, Marie. There's 30 million extra from just last year to this year. 30 million in tuition and fees. That reminds me of one more thing here. This article, I couldn't really share it, but it is Guard Me, Guard Who, all right? It is an article that is being done online by the thirdonline.ca, and this issue was from September 28th. In this issue, it says CBU has put the price of the insurance for students from $744 per year to $1,283. And this is mandatory. They cannot opt out.
Yeah.
Even if they have MSI, they can't opt out. They have any other insurance, they cannot opt out.
Nope.
If they finish school in December, and this insurance runs till June, they cannot get a discount and they cannot opt out. All right? The name of the company delivering the insurance is Guard Me. And all they're doing should be called Rob Me. They are robbing those students of every dollar they can bloody well squeeze out of them. Like
maybe we can take a look. Who owns Guard Me? Who has shares in Guard Me? What's going on with Guard Me? Why are they involved with David Dingwall and his shady practices? Were they not sucking enough out of those students? than to do that to them. These poor children, like some of them are children, literally. What are you trying to do? Like they're starving to death. They're at the loaves and fishes, man. What are you doing? Huh. It's
Exactly.
disgusting.
So share this feed. The only way we're going to be able to stop a tyrant like this is if everybody is on the same page. If you are not in agreement with what they're
Exactly.
saying, then all my question is to you, how much are you getting out of it? What is he doing for you? Because for the rest of us, he is making life unbearable here. In another 10 years, if we don't get rid of this guy, there's not going to be any Cape Bretoners left in Cape Breton. That's all I've got to
We
say
all
for
have to
today,
leave.
guys.
We'll all have to leave. There's nowhere for us to live. There's nowhere for us to work. And this is ridiculous. And the poor students are not enjoying it here.
No,
We'll
they're
show you
being
that documentary. I'm going to put that documentary in comments for
Yeah,
people to
there are
watch.
3 different documentaries, Marie. If you could share all 3, because we don't want to just share the
Yeah,
W5 documentary I already have in here, okay? The other
right.
documentaries that you shared, the ones that are being done in India themselves by
Yeah.
the media in India to try to help the
Well, the
students.
guy went back to India. He was devastated coming
I
here. He
saw
was in BC, but it's all
several.
through Canada, the way they're
It
doing
is.
this. But
It
Dingwall,
is.
come on now.
But the rest of Canada has got a lot more things going on that they don't have
Mhm.
a tyrant in place blocking everything to happen like we do
Yeah.
here. Thanks for your time today, guys. Enjoy the rest of your
Yeah.
Sunday. And if you think that I'm stressed out about this, I sure as hell am. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. See the
Chakra
light.
cleanse. Chakra cleanse.
Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Originals out.